Anybody that follows my channel for any length of time pretty much knows that, although I have my criticisms of the Democratic Party and I'm not a perfect fit for the party, who's a bit, uh, politically homeless, but, I ostensibly find common cause with the Democrats on a pretty frequent basis. So, he joined the party and everything, even though I don't always agree with everything it does. And I feel that it sometimes is far too tepid and everything in dealing with the opposition party, which would be the Republican Party. But, despite that reality, I'm seeing that the international credit card companies and payment processors are seemingly targeting major Japanese content platforms, sending requests for adult content on them to be removed or censored, and one-sidedly terminating payment options. Recent cases inside of the Dojinshi manga chain Melon Books, which cannot receive payments via Visa or MasterCard anymore, on the out-of-print manga archive Manga's Library Z, which had to shut down entirely after losing practically all methods of receiving payment from its users. This issue has been garnering a lot of criticism both in Japan and globally, since especially due to the fact that the platforms for self-published work and fan art seems to be the biggest targets. Even figures like near Automata creator Yoko Taro have spoken out on the issue, calling the pressure international payment processors exert on Japanese content platforms dangerous for how it jeopardizes free expression. But what do the card companies in question have to say about the matter? Recently, Visa's Japanese subsidiary Visa Worldwide Japan held a briefing to talk about its local expansion strategies, as reported by Impress Watch. During the QA session of this briefing, the company president and representative director Chaitin Kidney asked about why Visa is becoming unusable on sites selling of adult content that's legal in Japan. In response, Kitty commented why Visa's policy to make legal and legitimate purchases as available as possible, it's sometimes necessary to deny the product, deny use to protect the brand. He goes on to say that these complex decisions involving global and local politics, and that it's important to maintain sincerity and integrity, and we will continue to do so, which suggests that the company does not intend to change its stance. There is a specific explanation provided as to what kind of global and local policies Visa's decisions are being determined by. Now, my position on all of these matters, via, the removal from itch.io and from all these other platforms is quite simple at the end of the day. And what I have to say about that matter, I find it really patently absurd. I have dealt with an anime, community that has often said, if you watch this particular anime, you belong in prison. I wholeheartedly disagree. For pretty much all of them, I beg to differ. These are cartoons. They are not reality. They are fundamentally separate from reality, trying to conflate them as if, as if exploring these concepts and going down these rabbit holes necessarily means that you're going to get, you want to do these things yourself or whatever, like you're a bad person because you're consuming this content. No, none of it follows. And, in regards to anime, like anime is anime. It's not reality. It's not based on reality. The things that happen in it are completely fictional. They do not happen or have any bearing on reality, and trying to conflate them and treat them as if they're fundamentally equivalent is objectively false. The people who are doing it are pushing a fucking psychotic argument that is delusional at the end of the day. And frankly, depictions of what would probably be illegal, quote unquote, in reality should, be more like the anime, like drawings should be more tolerant of those kinds of things, because, at the end of the day, those things are fictional. They're not real. And people treat them as if they're some kind of gateway from one to the other, but that's just not necessarily the case or true in any empirical sense, especially since, I can point out to you that, because Japan wants to market their products to the broadest amount of people possible, you're not going to get 17-year-old characters in canon drawn as 17-year-old characters. These are going to be fully featured women who look like they're fully of legal age, because, that's what pulls in the broadest amount of people to a lot of these products. at the end of the day. And what really pisses me off is that Valve has been bullying, not Valve, but MasterCard has been bullying payment processors to, crack down on all of this content and everything. And it's a slippery slope. It's not, as much as I don't like those kinds of arguments, because I know there are people that draw the line somewhere, but here, it's only a matter of time before it's bigger, wider issues that the attack starts to come on all of this. I don't like this. I don't approve of any of this. I'm not a fan of any of it and everything and what Visa is doing. I think people should be allowed to spend money on whatever they want, and that these censorial parties should be forced to mind their own business, even if it happens against their own will. If that means sending in the guns and the tanks to force them to mind their own business, so be it.